Hi, good afternoon. This is a reshoot of this book by Martin Salisbury, Illustrators sketchbook. From what I understand, the one that I uploaded before seems to have uploaded in a strange manner. So one of you have requested me to refilm it, so I have. I will. It says here a fascinating journey through the personal, playful, sometimes experimental sketchbooks of 60 international illustrators, both well-known and emerging. Now I know last time I named every single illustrator. Let me see how I go. It is kind of a long book, as in it's printed in a long format, so I apologize, but you're going to have some dead space here and here. Don't know if it'd be more thematic to put something like that there. I don't think I will. Oops. I do like this book, so I will, with pleasure, flip through this again. And I have been tidying up over the last few days because we are in a kind of golden week here in Japan. So I have been tidying up and reconsidering having so many sketchbooks. So of which some have gotten a bit moldy, or some that I just know I won't use. So I may end up selling a few older ones that I don't need. I'm not going to read the whole introduction. Why don't I read the first few lines? As a species, illustrators tend to be rather timid, retiring creatures, shunning attention and like small furry mammals occasionally emerging from their studio burrows and blinking at the daylight. Although their reproduced work is often consumed and enjoyed by large audiences, they are not generally required to be present to witness it. Moreover, the process that underpins and nurtures the visual voice that speaks from the page or screen usually remains unseen as well. Then down here it says, but the sketchbook for the illustrator is not just a practice ground, although on the face of it, the connection between the sketchbook and the wider, more familiar visual vocabulary of the individual illustrator would seem to be an obvious one. The many and varied attitudes and approaches to be found in the personal testimonies and within the pages of the semi-secret sketchbooks of the artists featured in this book tell us otherwise. That was a very long sentence, guys. That was a very, very, very long sentence. Charlotte Ager. The use of sketchbooks is vital to Charlotte, allowing her to retain a sense of freshness and play in her work. They also provide her with a place to experiment with ways of translating complex subjects into subjective, instinctive responses. I think, I think if you're looking at this video, there's a good chance you also keep a sketchbook. I haven't kept a sketchbook for many years, and I did look at some of them recently. And I think when you look at something like this, you can realize that just making sketches, just doing something, is better than not doing anything. Because if you look at these pictures, I mean, it's not like they're Picasso or anything, but they have a sense of movement, and they're quite interesting. So I do like looking at this book. Beatrice Alemanga. The sketchbooks of Beatrice teem with drawings of people, animals, objects, buildings, and movingly tender moments of human interaction, all rendered in soft pencil. I do like drawing strange faces. Takako Aoki. Edward Adrizone. It says he would occasionally use color in his sketchbooks, as in the holiday study of Brothers from Sketchbook 26. Edward Borden. I'm a bit of a sucker for these types of like bold colors, and the contrast between like orange and green, or orange and is that indigo? I don't know what color that is. Prussian blue. I don't know what that color is. Thomas Bewick. Quentin Blake. Very familiar with Quentin Blake from Roald Dahl, obviously. Roald Dahl's books. Percy Drake Brookshaw. I mean, just amazing. Caliph Brown. Kai Gao. Sai Gao. Emma Carlisle. I think I had mentioned before, I've seen Emma Carlisle a lot on the internet. I'm pretty sure she's on YouTube as well. She does great sketchbooks. I love that blue color. Yeah, she's great. The movement in this is amazing. The implied kind of implied drawings, I don't know how to say it properly. This is clearly a cliff, but it doesn't look that detailed. It's kind of amazing. If that gets me banned, I'll be very disappointed. Chloe Cheese. Sung Kyung Cho. I do like doodles. Alan E. Koba. It reminds me of Captain Beefheart and the Trap Mask replica. Christopher Kaur. Kenyon Cox. I don't need to look at who this is. This is clearly Crumb. John Cuneo. I think he looks like he's somebody who's done covers of the New Yorker. Kind of grotesque. Yeah, it kind of looks like he would do the New Yorker, doesn't it? Man, I love his pictures. The line he uses is so unique. And the wash he does in watercolor, it's amazing. Jean de Brunhoff. Henrik Drescher. Oh, mama. Love this color. I'm not good at drawing hair. I lose patience after I draw a little bit, and then I think, oh my god, it's going to take too long. But he's done very well with the hair. Susan Einzig. Mark and Twistle. I like that one. There's lots of depth. Great colors. Isidro Ferrer. Edward Gorey. Chris Harper. Kind of reminds me of early David Hockney. I do like the contrast of orange and blue. John Harris. It's pretty dense. I don't know how to pronounce the guy who does Tintin. Hergé. Never been a big reader of Tintin at all. I do love his pictures though. The color's amazing. And one thing I learned by doing an online sketch course was that everyone's head should be on the same plane, because when you're looking straight ahead, everyone should be at the same level as your eye line. It sounds so obvious, but when you learn that, then you can see it everywhere. This is Hokusai. I love Hokusai's pictures. These are surprisingly very detailed. He does a lot of work that's not so detailed. Ling Huang. Tove Jansson, famous for Moomin. She writes some great. If you have a chance, read some of her short stories. They're so good. Oliver Jeffers. I'm quite familiar with his books. He writes a lot of children's books. Charles Keeping. John Lawrence. Shi Yu Lin. Pretty sure I bought this book back in Australia. This is Sarah Lundberg. I had heard about this book, but it was quite expensive here in Japan, and I don't know, I think it was just cheaper to buy in Australia. But I remember coming back from Australia with a suitcase full of books, and my mum was quite surprised that everything fit in the suitcase. This is a good illustration because it shows that you don't always need, like, high quality watercolor paper in order to make good paintings or good sketchbooks. I mean, clearly the pages are warped, but that's kind of besides the point. That's a great one. I like that one also. Manuel Marceau. Nick Marston. Okay, that's a very difficult one for me to pronounce. Bernd Molk Tassel. Ed Merlin Murray. That's really cool. Okay, I need to look at this guy's work. 20 ideas in 20 minutes. I really like this guy's work. It says here, whether directly or indirectly, much of Ed's personal sketchbook work focuses on issues relating to the mind, mental health, neuroscience, and bipolarity. It says, I usually have several sketchbooks on the go at once. I leave them all over my house and studio and work in them all concurrently. My favorites at the moment are made by Magma and draw quite big and thick with paper, which is at once fairly heavy and textured and also unexpectedly transparent. I like to photograph these on a light box before coloring the resulting images digitally, incorporating both the line work of the page in question and whatever is bleeding through from the reverse. Okay, that's quite interesting. I do like that. That's amazing. Fabian Negrin. Beatrix Potter. Eric Ravilios. Sheila Robinson. Okay. Martin Salisbury. Definitely familiar with his name. You know, I've tried to draw gardens before, or parks, and I think I spend too much time trying to focus on details. If you look at this, for example, there's a lot left out. A lot to be kind of, a lot that you just have to think. God, I'm not even speaking English properly. I mean, there's a lot implied by his artwork. You know it's a garden. You don't need to paint every leaf. Like these trees, for example. Ronald Searle. Beatriz Lostale Seijo. Anna Senda. Oh, I like this one. Charles Shearer. I'd like to thank whoever told me on the comments that the last filming of this book slowed down. It's made me look at this book again. And I have to say, I do enjoy flipping through this book. Katrin Strangle. I must probably mention the exact same things I did last time, but it gives you motivation to pull out the sketchbook. Helen Stevens. Sean Tan. I believe this guy's an Aussie. Victoria Tentler Krylov. Krylov. Oh, that's cool. Charles Tunnicliffe. Tommy Ungra. Okay, don't get me banned. Valerio Vidali. I like his colors. Brian Wildsmith. Peng Wu. Oh, again, nice colors. That's great. Okay, who is Peng Wu? It says here, people feature as a subject in almost all of Peng Wu's sketchbooks, whether drawn partially from observation or entirely from imagination. They invariably convey a tangible sense of warmth and engagement. It says here she is a young Chinese illustrator whose work has been selected twice for the highly competitive Bologna Children's Book Fair Illustrator Exhibition. I like her work a lot. Doris Meng Yan. Okay, we're getting towards the end here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Li Yang. Yeah, always great to look at this book. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. Actually, I recommend any book that's compiled by Martin Salisbury. And what a I mean, that was silly, wasn't it? When I saw that was silly. Incredibly silly of me when I said, oh yeah, I've heard of this Martin Salisbury guy. Of course you've heard of him. He's the guy who bloody made this book. Anyway, this will be the last book I do today, guys. Have a good day.